Christina is coming on as a part of our Women of Community series, sharing her journey from a hairdresser to a low-tox mama, raising two kids outside the system, unschooling, homeschooling, healing generational trauma, and has incredible insight into low-tox living. Welcome to the show, Christina.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here with you.
Me too. So I've followed you on Instagram for quite some time and know that we both have something in common and that we used to be hairdressers and own our own hair salons. And now we're the crazy mums that show up to bloody kids' parties that are like, oh my gosh, hide the lollies. So can you take me
Yes.
back and tell me your journey from being a hairdresser and how it led you to where you are today?
Yeah, absolutely. I was so sure about hairdressing from such a young age. That was like a thing that my mum and I used to do together was go and get our hair done. And I just loved watching them and loved the feeling, like seeing my mum light up with how she would feel leaving the salon and all those types of things. And so I knew from a really young age that I wanted to be a hairdresser. And I had an awesome hairdresser when I was in school that ultimately I said to her, like, I want to be a hairdresser. I don't really want to finish school. I'm not too bothered about it. And she was like, oh, I'll put you on as an apprentice. And so it kind of just, I kind of fell into it really easily I think that was in year 9, that conversation happened. So I was sort of like out of leaving school around year 10. So I think I must have been about 14 when I started ish. And I was a hairdresser for 16 years all up, I believe, and just absolutely loved it. Like, loved every second of it. It was hard, but loved it for years and years. And it wasn't really until I opened my own shop, and I loved that even more because there was so much more control over the environment, and the pace of things and the culture of the team and things like that. And so I absolutely just fell even more in love with it when I opened my own salon. When I was pregnant with my first Ziggy, I remember just having this moment. I had this one client and I just had this one instance, and I had this moment of like, I just don't know how I'm going to come back to this. Like, I don't know how that's going to look, kind of thing. And I feel like most mothers, like the second that I had him, it was just like, I can't do it. I can't go back. And I was really lucky that even prior to me falling pregnant, I had started training up a manager for the salon. So I was super, super lucky in that I had someone who really loved my space and loved it like the way that I did. And she was running it for me. And so I was very lucky in her kind of like running the show the way that I really loved it being run. And then I really thought I would be back from like 4 weeks postpartum. Like, I really thought I wouldn't be able to stay away. That was kind of that hustle mindset back then. And I had him, and I just didn't want to go back. And then I actually found out I was pregnant with my second when Ziggy was 6 months old. So then that was kind of my little get out of get out of jail card to not go back to work. But yeah, I absolutely loved it. And I honestly thought I would keep the salon for years and years to come. I had it for about 6 years. And then my low-tox journey is what actually sort of started toying with my moral compass there, and is what ultimately got me to close the doors of my salon, because I felt like I was, running these two different conflicting businesses. Yeah, I just knew that I couldn't go back. And that's what sort of led me to closing the doors on my salon and knowing that I wouldn't really ever do hair again.
Yeah, wow. So when did the low tox journey begin from there?
It was after I had my second son, Percy. He was about 4 months old, and he started suffering really severely with eczema. And I was very skeptical about this world and about, just the natural way of doing things. It's not how I was brought up. It was not kind of like what I was like even in early adulthood. It was definitely not me prior to motherhood. And I was very, very skeptical. And it wasn't really until he was having these issues with his skin. And then, like, kind of looking back, my first son did have things as well. But I think I was just, drowning in the, like, what is motherhood of it all to notice. And then his skin was just so bad that I thought, okay, let me just try something. Let me just try and change a couple of things and see if there's any difference. And we like committed to a company that we wanted to try, because we'd been trying what we thought were more natural products, like the pediatrician approved like chemist ones that had the beautiful leaves and the animals on the front. So we thought we were kind of buying cleaner products, but the eczema was continuing. And then we committed to a brand, switched out like a lot of like the skin things like lotions, wash, but laundry soap, some of those bigger things that we hadn't really thought would be making such a big impact. And then we just noticed these insane results with his skin, my sleep, and I had really bad, what I just thought was hay fever, but it was just obviously my body just been like suffocating in our home, and all of these things just kind of like disappeared in our home, and that kind of just started this rabbit hole effect, I suppose. Yeah, that was massive. Like once you dive down that, I feel like it's really hard to come back.
Yeah, it definitely is. So for the listeners, what brand did you decide to go with?
Yeah, so we decided to go with Young Living. So I'd just been following a mum on Instagram, and she had kind of been partnering with them and switching and ditching some products with them. I'd probably been watching her for about a year before I decided to commit, because I was very skeptical about, essential oils and all. Just like I say, I was just, I'm hard to convince of, like these things sometimes. And so I feel like we were very lucky that we went from kind of dabbling with bits and pieces from here and there only for a short period straight to Young Living. And they were the brand that we ultimately started with and saw so many results so quickly. Like I'm also quite a lazy purchaser too, so that the idea that they had everything in one spot was like really good for me, because it felt like it really needed to be more of a lifestyle change than just me like purchasing one or two things to like help him. It really felt like we really needed to like learn about the ingredients on the back of our labels and really remove what was bad and start to replace things as they were running out, versus like the band-aid effect, like instead of just like finding something we could put on his skin and that was magically going to heal him, it really felt like we were going through more of a detox period. And so with YL, it was like a one-stop shop. They had everything in one place. Everything was super dilutable, so it felt like we could save a bit of money, which was great, obviously, in those years of early motherhood and you're working everything out income wise. And it was cool because, similar to like homeopathy and everything like that, there was a real kind of community around it in terms of like just Facebook groups and places you could ask questions and things like that. And I think for me, with a lifestyle change like that, especially in those years of motherhood, like I felt like I really needed that, like that guidance and that accountability almost. And yeah, so that's kind of how we stumbled into them, was just seeing another mum on social media using it and just thinking, if I'm going to do this, like at least I can get everything in that one spot, try everything with them. And if it doesn't work, it's the same as, all the other chemist stuff that I'd bought, the pediatrician recommended range. And yeah, it's your kids, right? You just keep trying until something works.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, for those who don't know, you now have your own team with Young Living, and that has also provided you the ability to be able to travel around Australia. So, for those who aren't following you on Instagram, can you just paint the picture of where you are and what you do with you and your husband and your two boys?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think it was probably around 7 years ago now that we went Low-Tox with YL. It was probably only 2 months in that I found out there was the business side to it as well. And I'm just like a big mouth, a big mouth oversharer. Like everyone knows what I have for breakfast every day. That's just the kind of person that I am. And so before I realized there was a business side, I was just like finding out about these chemicals and just like basically just recruiting I was like, Mum, you can't use candles anymore. You can't do this. You can't, like, you've got to try this, get a diffuser instead. And just like being a pusher, because I was just like, it's your friends and family, like you find this information out, you panic and you just like want everyone to get all this stuff out of their home. And then I discovered there was a business side to Whale. Basically, the way that I guess I see it is it's like this refer a friend on steroids, like very similar to like what I had in my salon. Like you referred a friend, you got $20 off. This is like a very similar thing that I get to do now, that's given us this freedom to travel, because I can do it online. I can just do it on my phone, so I can do it from anywhere. And it's basically just helping other people that were in that situation I was in 7 years ago, you know, that are wanting a solution and don't really know where to start or don't really know what ingredients to look out for and all those things. I can help guide them in where to start, how to do it, how to save the money. It's been super rewarding in that I know how confusing that first part of this journey was for myself, and being able to hold people's hand through that and really simplify the process. But it's also been like wildly rewarding for our family in terms of how we get to live now. Like, it really helped me realize how we can break out of the 9 to 5. Like, that was not something I'd ever witnessed other people doing before like finding this industry and then having a community of women around that were doing exactly that. It's created a world where after my first year in business with YL, I was able to bring my husband home from work. So he was home with us for 3 years while the kids were young, which was just amazing. And we actually traveled back then. I think we got about 6 months in before, you know, the world shut down because of, you know, the flu. I mean, it's given us so many other freedoms. So we traveled then. We're currently traveling now on the road, but it's also seen us like survive so many seasons of hardship. Like, our marriage has gone through hard seasons, and it's seen us financially being able to survive that. Yeah, so many different things. But currently we are on the road. I've got Ziggy is 7, Percy is 6, and yeah, we live in our caravan full time at the moment currently. My husband is working FIFO at the moment. We discovered pretty quickly that Dad loves to work. So as beautiful as it was to have those 3 years together, it's also beautiful that, you know, he loves to work, and I get that because I'm the same, right? Like, I love being able to have the community and the creativity and all of the things. So yeah, it's got us in this beautiful space where he's doing what he loves to do for right now. I love what I'm doing, and I'm able to, you know, be on the road, see beautiful places, and homeschool the boys, which is like a freedom I didn't know that I was going to want to have in those early days, that I'm so grateful that we have now as well.
So, what led you to wanting to homeschool?
So many different things. I think a lot of it happened during the pandemic for me, kind of the rabbit hole of that world as well. But I think the main moment for me that stood out was because my kids have been in school previously. They did primary, they loved it. We had some really beautiful teachers in like those really early fun years, you know, where it is a lot of play. And then last year, my son went into year 1, and we got there on the first day, and there was desks, which I wasn't expecting in year 1. There was desks, the biggest flat screen TV I'd ever seen, and a stack of iPads in the corner of the room. And I just had this like visceral effect in my body of like, no, just an absolute no way in hell am I like not seeing my son for 5 days a week. And he's like in this, it just felt like a cage. It just felt like a firm no in my body. And I'd always been like interested and intrigued by homeschool, but I guess I was open-minded to the idea that like maybe it was just some people's experience that it wasn't good, or maybe it was just some schools or whatever. But I'd never kind of felt that feeling of like this firm no in my body. And it was that first day he walked in, and it just, I was like, he's just still a baby. He's still a child, and he just needs to be running around and playing and out in nature. And it felt so limiting seeing that room. And I just knew he wasn't going to be there for very long. Like, I knew it wasn't going to work out. And then as that first term went on, he ended up in the principal's office quite a few times. And this is my good kid. This is my easy kid, you know? And I'm thinking, oh, what, like, what's my second kid going to go through? I was so confused by it. And when I would have conversations with the principal and the teachers about what was going on, ultimately it came down to like him wanting to play, like him not being able to sit still, and etc. And I just was like, I don't know, just like obviously, like he's a little boy and he's in a cage and this is not normal. And then I sort of had these moments of, particularly when my husband and I separated for a period of time, like, there was a lot of emotional processing for them to experience. They'd just had dad home for 3 years and then he was moving out, and it was a horrific time. And I was so lucky to have this job that I have and be able to gauge where they were at. And so if there were days where they were meant to be going to school and they were particularly needing of me or whatever, I just wouldn't take them. I was like, okay, you need me more than you need to go to school, and then I would get, phone calls, or if I decided to pick them up early because I could see that they were a bit more tired that week or whatever, it was like I was getting really critiqued and getting poor feedback basically for the decisions I was making. And there was just, again, more of this visceral effect in my body of just like, how are you trying to tell me what to do with my own children? Like I can feel where they're at. I can feel if they're tired. I can feel if they're emotionally needing me more. I don't know, it just felt like such a firm no of like, I know what they need more than you do. Like, if I take them out early, like, just respect, anyway. So I think they were probably in for, I don't know, 3 to 6 months before I was like, this, just no, just no. And just, yeah, ripped them out. The initial plan was for my husband to homeschool because he's just so much more like book smart and just like patient and all of those things. So as much as I knew I wanted to do it, I kind of didn't know if I personally could do it. And I'm so glad we did. And I don't know, like, I don't have a real firm plan in my mind of what that will look like or how long it will go for or if it will be forever or whatever. But I just know for right now, and particularly these ages, like, it is the right move for us and it's the right move for my boys and it's what they really need. And I'm not a real like helicopter mum or anything like that, but it just really did not feel like at those ages my kids should be away from me more than they should be with me. That just did not feel right. So that's kind of what led us there.
So, what does your week look like in terms of schooling then?
So because Brad is FIFO, it is definitely a bit of a juggle at the moment with me running a business and schooling them. But ultimately, like, what I try to get it to look like is that anywhere from 3 to 5 days we'll do school, and it will be like we'll wake up, have brekkie, and do like a little bit of like math and English for like an hour or two, maybe, depending on like how things are that week, and then they'll play. And if they're really not feeling it, or like we're having a hard week, or like right now we've just crossed back over the Nullarbor and it's been a really crazy week and we've been stuck in the car, like, I'm just not doing it this week. So it's really based off of where they're at, how they're feeling, how much we'll do. Like, I'm very much of just like, the more I push, like, the less fun it's going to be for them and the less they're going to want to do it. So yeah, we just try to make it more like it's a fun activity book than it's like this strict thing that we have to sit down and do. And they're ahead. It's really funny. Like, at first I was really worried about the juggle with work and stuff as well, but they're really ahead in these books. And I've found that, like, there's almost times where we felt like we need to like slow down a little bit because we're doing a bit too much bookwork. Like, we need to bring more of it into the play or whatever, because they love doing the bookwork, which is a bit of a surprise. So yeah, a lot of it we try to just bring into our everyday. I think they both just really love writing, so that's why they love the bookwork stuff. But the rest of it we just try to bring into our everyday. If we're at the beach, we're counting shells. If we're at the shop, like, they're collecting the groceries for me and they're like taking bits of money and they're paying bits in cash, and then I just put the rest on my card. And we're trying to just do like the real life, real time stuff. And they're reading, like, their current thing is like, we've got this nature book that's got like nature adventures in it, and Ziggy is like quite good with his reading now, so they'll like pack a bag of snacks and binoculars and compasses and things like that, and they'll read like a little adventure thing in this nature book, and then they'll go and explore and bring things back, and then we'll do this nature activity together. And yeah, so it definitely is different every week, but kind of, if we're in one spot for a while and we can do a bit of bookwork in the mornings and they're good and they're content and their nervous systems are calm and that feels good, that's kind of the rough schedule. And then if it doesn't look like that, it's just through our play and all those types of things as well.
We aren't up to home, like deciding on what we're doing for school yet, but wow, it's a definitely big decision. I've started to
Mm.
think about what we're going to do for our kids as well. But we're in like our community, a lot of like-minded mums, and a lot are struggling to choose between school or homeschooling.
Mm.
If anyone is listening who is struggling to decide whether or not they want to pull their kids out of mainstream school to homeschool, but maybe thinking, I just couldn't do it, what would you say to them?
I guess I would just say, what's the harm in trying? Because I really didn't think I could do it. I really didn't think I could do it, and I really thought I would need to be. I'm not a super structured human. I thought I'd be have to be so much more structured and implemented and things like that. And I think everyone, when they first start homeschooling, is a bit like that, like researching and trying to like have all these binders and making like there's fear around it, right? Because it's like you don't want to do your kids a disservice by not giving them everything that they need. But I think everyone I spoke to was like, you'll overdo it at first and then you'll realize like how much that doesn't need to happen. And that's what's been true for us, absolutely. Because I think if you have that niggle that your child shouldn't be at school, even if it's just for a period of time, whatever it is for you, you have that intuition. We all have it, you can feel it. If you have that intuition, you'll have the same intuition homeschooling. You'll have the same pulls of what they're interested in, not interested in, how to make, bookwork fun if that's what makes you feel more guided in it, or how to make the play more structured. If you've got that pull, you can absolutely have faith in it. And if you pull them out and it doesn't feel like what you hoped it would feel like, or they don't respond well to it, your intuition will then guide you again, I think, to, okay, let's put them back in, but maybe a different school, or maybe be, like something I feel I'm more aware of now is that if the kids did ask me to go back to school when we were settled again, not traveling, I feel like I would feel so much more confident to have a meeting with the teachers and the principal prior to them starting and chatting to them about my expectations and what I require for my kids, and that I am really happy to have them miss days of school, early pickups, and things like that when I feel that they emotionally need it, and I don't want to receive criticism for that. And I would feel so much more confident to have those conversations with the school that we would choose if that's the road we went back down. And so, yeah, I think if you're nervous about doing it and you did it and it didn't work, the worst thing is that you return, but maybe with more confidence than what you had before, to actually speak to the system in the way that aligns for you and that you feel more in control. Because it can really feel like that when you put your kids in school. It almost feels like you're the kid again. It's almost like your school experience or trauma can come back into play and you feel like you're a little kid again instead of the parent. And so I feel like I've learned that as well, being back in the homeschooling space. If we went back, I don't think I would go back the same person as what I was before.
Yeah, wow. A lot's coming up for me then, and especially for me, like down the route of like the non-vaccination space,
Mm.
there's such a journey of learning how to use your voice without worrying about how the others perceive you. And I think as a parent, it's our obligation to be able to stand up to those. And that I come across as someone that I could have really hard conversations, but at the same time, it's actually really fucking scary. Like even if I took
Mm.
my girls to the doctors or the hospital, like my body is shivering inside of fear of criticism of
Mm.
what they might think or what questions are they going to throw at me, and my body will shut down. And what I'm hearing from you is like even with the school, like I said this to a friend today. We're going for a walk this morning, and I was like, sometimes I put myself up on planet. My brother taught me how to do this, and he's like, sometimes you just got to put up yourself up in space and take your soul out of your body and look down on your little physical body and like think you're just two little ants, and like sometimes our thoughts and our fears and stuff are like just really nothing. There's just nothing.
Mm.
We've we have been programmed from such a young age to stick beside the box. And, time's
Mm.
illusion, right? In illusion, right? And when you start to really look at time as an illusion, so I'm going to go on a full rant here.
No, I love it.
And the box, you realize how much we've been programmed. Like, don't think a different way, because the people inside the box will throw daggers at you because you're trying to step out.
Mm.
Like, and
Mm.
hearing you, and as I'm hearing this, I'm like, isn't it insane how so many people on the planet are in more of a relationship or in more of an attachment with their perceived view that from others than they are with their own kids and their own kids'
Mhm.
needs and their own kids' emotions and feelings. So
Yes.
I just admire you, because I even had this not long ago. I went over to my neighbor's house actually, and first time meeting them, and I was speaking about how that they traveled and homeschooled their kids, but one of their daughters, who was a lot older, was then talking that she is now a teacher. And I was like,
Mm.
oh, we are very open to homeschooling one day. And I went to ask questions, and I said, I really love the idea of just being able to, like, if you can feel that your kids need to, they can't sit at a desk all day, being able to pull them out and take them
Mhm.
surfing. And if we're taking the boat out that day, because my poor partner is also on a roster, being able to just
Mm.
take them out the boat, and my partner's really
Yes.
handy. I know they're going to learn more life skills being alongside their dad in the shed or with the
Yes.
motorbikes or on the boat than they are at school, because I did 15 years at school. I'm just guessing off the top of my head, it was probably if around then, but I still don't know how to read and write. I still don't know much about fucking anything. Like, yeah. So I said that to them, and I just remember hearing her response, like, yeah, but parents like that are really hard to deal with. And it was like, oh, okay then. Like,
Oh,
that's how you're perceived, being that parent that's like, I'm here for my kids, and then letting go of that connection with people we don't even know.
yeah. And because that's such a reactivity, isn't it? It's like, oh, parents like that are hard because they're challenging the system, and teachers could perceive that to be like personally attacked, but that's not. It's like they're getting paid to do their job, and their job is an outdated system, and good teachers know that. Like, good teachers really, like, there were some teachers at the kids' old school that were like, yeah, we hate, like, I would a couple of them follow me on social media, and I would post stuff about school when I would get, enthralled in my PMS rage, and they'd be like, yeah, I totally agree. And I'd be like, yeah, you're a good teacher. And that's why when we were in your class, I didn't see a problem with school. And now that I'm over here, I'm like, okay, I see the problems now. And just being adaptable to change your mind, right? Like, you can change your mind. Like, we loved it in the first year. And then I was like, barely lasted 6 months, and I think we just grow up too quick. I just think that we just grow up too quick. And if we can savor a few extra years for our kids of like them actually getting to be kids, and empowering them with enough resistance to be like, if you do go back to school and they want you to do something you don't want to do, to have enough self-respect to be able to say no without it being a tantrum as well. There's this part of me that's like, is there a world where if my kids go back and there's something they don't want to do, that they can be emotionally intelligent enough? Like, can I teach them that level of emotional intelligence to be like, I don't want to do this, and not be having a tantrum and not be getting in trouble for it, where then if their principal calls me and they said they don't want to do it, and I go, okay, well, if they don't want to do it, they don't have to do it. If they said no, they don't have to do it, then it's your job to tell them what they can do in that time, give them some options. Yeah, it's a hard one, but I just think that we should feel super empowered in whatever it is that we decide. And I think all kids are so individual. And I think that if we can bring them out so that we can empower them in what they love and what they enjoy, or at least empower ourselves to feel confident enough to go back to the system if that's what our kids kind of choose. Because I have heard of that. I have heard of kids being like, I do want to go to school. I want to be around friends. And my oldest has said it like once or twice since being out. And I know that's going to come in a bit more full force the older that he gets, that he's going to want to return back to that environment. And I'm okay with that if that's what he wants. I just want to give him the tools that he needs for it to be a good experience. And I want to defend him. I want to feel more confident to do that, because I don't think I did a great job at doing that for him that first round, because when the principal, calls you, it's like you feel like you're a child again and you're like, okay, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, and I don't want to feel like that. I want to really be able to be open to if he has done something wrong, like I don't want to just like defend him no matter what because, kids be kids. But I also want to be able to feel confident to stand up against if there is something happening that I don't, agree with or there been options, yeah, it's a tough one. It's a huge topic, but I'm really grateful that we have the freedom to be able to have them out in these years where it does feel important that that's what they have because boys behind a desk at 5 and 6 and oh yeah, it's too young.
So you've been traveling Australia. So they're out in the wilderness, in the wild, at the beaches, swimming in the bush, all of that.
Yeah, all the time. I think we've been gone for about 12 months now this time. And yeah, they're real bush kids. We don't carry a lot of toys or anything with us. Like we have a few for, the rainy days or whatever, but they're real explorers and little like inventors and entrepreneurs and build something out of nothing all the time. And that's just of their own exploration. Like, yeah, I think it's a strange pride that I have, like watching them play like 90s kids, like making something out of nothing and finding more fun with sticks than, toys. Like, I really enjoy watching them in that space.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's just made me want to bring up something. Okay, so I want to bring a study into this that I have here. I'm going to read it off my phone. A study by NASA found that 98% of kids under 5 tested at 98% genius level. But after completing school, the study found that it had dropped to 2%. It shows how the education system, with its rigid structure, standardized testing, and one size fits all learning, actually trains creativity out of children. Where homeschool, on the other hand, can preserve and even nurture that natural genius by allowing curiosity, critical thinking, and individual interest to lead the way. I did use ChatGPT to help me put this together. So it has thrown its opinion in there. It shows how the education system with a rigid structure, da 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 da, but you kind of get the gist that
Mm.
um because I'm even noticing it now, like I can find myself doing it like when I don't know when we're coloring in or doing something, how easy it is to be like, no, we're not meant to be doing it that way. And as
Yes.
adults, when we know the rules, like, no, you're meant to color out the lines and you're meant to do it, like all of that,
Yeah.
how I'm actually like listening to myself and being like, fuck, like that right there is removing creativity. And where did I read it or someone shared it? I can't remember how it came up in somewhere in my field a few weeks ago about how I wanted to do something different with the art that they were doing. I think it was
Mm.
maybe picture, and that wasn't in the rules of that's how the picture was meant to be painted, and when it wanted to use its creativity and flow with it, it obviously wasn't allowed. And I was like, wow, it's not until you really I've never thought about this before. I'm only just really starting to understand where creativity is removed, and I'm having to like reparent myself in these moments and go like just let her flow with it. There is no rules. Like
Mm.
the creativity, and when I refer back to that study does come around when I in the algorithm when I've been watching too much homeschool reels and more homeschool reels come in, that shows up a lot, that those micro moments that the creativity is robbed. And fuck me, I feel like I've lost all my
Mm.
creativity.
No, I was just going to say, because it's like when we have the spaciousness, right? Like ultimately the school system was created by Rockefeller to create workers, so that they could build, systems and jobs and have people not think for themselves, but listen to instruction. Like that's what school was created for and invented for. And even as adults, like you just said, like, it's so funny. Like I can have really crappy weeks of like I'm not much of a content creator. Like I don't really the way in which like I work through social media and everyone talks about content creation. Like I love being really creative and flowy with like how I share on social media. And so then I'll have weeks where I feel like I don't share anything and I'm like, oh man, I really feel like I need to get something up there. But I'm like, because I do everything just via flow, like I find it really hard when I like just feel like I have to put something out there that I can't do it because I'm not feeling creative, and it's weeks where things are getting really busy. And then it's like if I literally just have a morning where like we have nothing on for the morning and I'm just laying in bed and we're cuddling, or we do a bit of school and then the kids play outside, or I just go sit in the sun, then I'm like, all of a sudden I'm inundated with like 20,000 things that I want to share because I'm like, I've had the spaciousness to like know what I care about that day, you know? And it's like, that's the whole thing with school, right? Is like, they sit down and it's like, we're doing this and we're doing this and we're doing this and we're doing, and it's like everything's time and so rigid. And it's like, understandably, like these women are in this, or not just women, but you know what I mean? Like these teachers are stood there and they've 30 kids. I can barely handle two. So it's like they have 30 and this schedule and this timeline that has to be kept. And it's like you say, it's like when they have this spaciousness to just kind of like do their thing, same way we as adults, if we create and carve out this spaciousness to like actually just be present and do our thing, like that is when our creativity floods in. But you know, in 2025 it's actually harder than anything to create space, you know, like there's always busyness, everyone always has access to us. It's, yeah, it's harder than ever to actually make that a priority.
Yeah, and like I just want to say, like, if anyone's listening to this and they're like, so many mums, like, I've said to me, like, my kids do really well in school, and I love school and I love the teachers. Like I feel like there's so much noise that makes you question yourself, and
Mm-hmm.
I I have some really good friends who are like so strong in themselves. They're like, oh, I feel like, you know, this, I love school. And I think,
Mm.
like, don't question yourself. If that feels right by
Yeah,
you and it feels all fucking yes, like, don't question that. I think, and also
yeah.
the change of mind, like, I'm definitely someone that changes my mind all the time. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
constantly challenging myself with questioning myself, and why do I feel that way? Or why do I see that way? Or do I
Yeah,
still feel that? And so many things like 6 months ago, I no longer agree with. And I'm like, do
yeah.
you know what? This isn't serving me. I gave this a go. I gave this whatever a go. Like it could be a diet. It could be a, I don't know, just a thought pattern, or the pressure of myself to do or be. And then I realized, do you know what? This is no longer what feels right by me. And I think we've
Mm.
given ourselves permission as parents and mums and partners and cousins and daughters that we have changed our mind, and other people can too. And
Yeah.
because I think a lot of people are so afraid that, oh, I said I would never do this, but, and then they're like, well, I couldn't because I'd be a hypocrite. And it's like, well, no, you fucking can. And it
Yeah.
sometimes, so many people are like too afraid to ask the person, like, hey, I remember you said this, like this time last year, like, and I noticed you
Mm.
did XYZ. Do you still feel that way? And let them
Mm-hmm.
talk, because I feel like also when we have that expectation on somebody else, they're not allowed to change their views or opinions, then it puts it, we actually then judge ourselves for changing and put ourselves in this box that we're not allowed to change and evolve and grow, when
Yes.
shouldn't be putting that pressure on anybody else to change their opinion about anything. And we shouldn't be putting that on ourselves either, because that's what's really
Mm.
going to keep us stuck and small. And,
Yeah.
you know, we're all here to do big things. We've all got these callings inside of our bellies to do something. And we're definitely, there's a mass programming of, yeah, just not going with that. So I just wanted to say
Mm.
that, because I think we can touch on homeschooling, and I just also want to make sure that no one's listening to this and being like it's like a pro or an anti, or a like
Yeah.
you must or you mustn't. Like, just do whatever the fuck feels right for your family and own it.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. I couldn't echo that more. And I love the conversation around the pivot because, yeah, I just feel like it's a big thing at the moment, and in so many different realms. Like, I know mums who homeschooled the whole time and then their kids wanted to go to school and they shamed themselves for literal months. Like, I'm celebrating the pivot so much this year. You know, it's the same with travel. Like, I'll speak to some travel families and they're like, yeah, you know, fuck the 9 to 5. Like, why are people living like that? And I'm like, okay. And then they stop traveling and they go back and they're like, oh, I'm so glad I'm in a house now. Fuck traveling. It's so hard. And I'm like, just because you love one thing doesn't mean you have to hate the opposing side of it. You know, like we can pivot and we can celebrate like I don't know, all the polarity, the duality of all of it. Like, we don't have to, hate the opposite because we're here right now. Because, like you say, we can pivot and we can change. And if we're growing, we should be all the time, right? And so, yeah, I just think, like you say, I absolutely celebrate both sides of every coin because I just think it's all seasonal too. And depending on where we're at in life, like what is going to actually work for us and feel good and actually like just feel good in our nervous system, whether it's homeschool, school, all of the things, it just needs to feel good. And you've just got to like trust that intuition. And then, like you say, just remove that shame and that guilt around the pivot because I just feel like that's such a normal part of life. But I think we're a particular generation of like all or nothing. I feel like that's kind of breaking away and falling away a bit at the moment, which is good.
Yeah, I've definitely had some work to do around that, and I spoke about this. I've been speaking about this quite a lot on this podcast about that black and white thinking and how
Mm.
I'm so someone like that. I'm just like the pendulum swings from left to right, like the gray matter in the middle just doesn't exist. So I'm trying to
Yeah.
like soften myself
Yes.
back and bring myself in the middle and like, do you know what? And try, yeah. Anyway, I'm not going to go back into that part a bit because I'll go on. Yeah, I'm still trying to. There's still just areas and processing around it all. And I used an analogy yesterday when I interviewed Tully that even afterwards I'm
Mm.
like, oh, that wasn't probably the best analogy to use. And it's really hard, especially in this space of having a podcast or being on social media. You kind of speak out about how you feel, and sometimes I'm like, fuck, shit just falls out of my mouth, and then I still question myself. Is that how I really feel? Like I used an analogy, and I was
Mm.
white analogy, and I referred to veganism or carnivore, and I said I think I'd never do either of the diets or whatever, something like that. And I was like, well, that's not true. Like you do align a lot with carnivore. Like I do. I don't think I could
Mm.
stick to a diet. I'm not really a diet person. I'm very much like
Yep.
yourself, very in flow. Like there's I
Mm.
think that there's that part of my brain that's like, I need a routine, I need a I need lists, I need
Yeah.
a calendar, and I need all this structure, but I cannot stick to anything that feels like structure or feels like a box. Like even if
Yeah.
anything feels like it pulls me down, I will do anything to break out of it. And I really think my eldest Siggy, I think she's going to be the same as
Yeah.
well. I can see that. And this is the thing, right? I can now see as I begin to parent myself whilst I'm parenting my
Mm.
children. I don't think my personality fitted well with school, and I
Mhm.
fucking boomed when I started working. I remember
Yes.
we're doing hairdressing as well, and I'd go in. Mondays was my boss that she didn't work on the floor; she went into the office, and I would be doing all my cleaning apprentice jobs, and I would just want to be in there with her and learning how to do the books. And I was like, "But how do you run a business?" And I would be asking all of these questions, but school, I didn't have any questions to ask. If anything, I was a little asshole. I was rude to the teachers. They were like, today we're learning algebra. I would sit there like, well, what can you tell me when I'm going to use this? And that was
Yeah. Yeah.
I was being rude, but also I'm still waiting for an answer. Like I'm sorry, but I've got a little brain capacity to use in my life, and I'm not going to sit here and learn something that isn't going to serve me. And I'm a fuel for
Yes.
knowledge. I love education. I love learning. Like I'm always reading. I'm always listening to podcasts. I'm always doing courses. I've always got 10 courses on the go. Never finish any of them. But I love I love learning. And I look back to school and I'm like, but all of it was so boring to me. But as soon as I got out and I got into the work world and business, I
Yeah.
fucking boomed. It was awesome. And having this, like, to me,
Yeah.
this is me going back to school and learning. Like, and so this is like the
Yes.
learning real good shit. So I think for me, coming back to where I'm at with the homeschooling, this is where I find it really interesting because I follow someone called Farmhouse on Burn, and when I'm like in the mood to just sink into the couch and watch something on I always watch her on YouTube, and she just cooks in the kitchen, and I'm visually,
Mm.
I've never seen this, and I
Yeah.
have a lot of friends that cook a lot, and I'm always like asking them so many questions. So because I'm a visual learner, so reading recipes, it doesn't land in my body, like it doesn't, I don't really
Mm.
information. And so I find that what just going on YouTube and watching her, and she just cooks and she explains how she makes sauerkraut, and I just watch that, and that's my
Yeah.
like that's what I do, and I love it because I'm like, oh, this is how you do that, and I can visually learn, and this is my way of learning. But what I
Yes.
want to circle this back around to the school system is right that I think it's so important, and I think a lot of people who are going to be listening to how you are so in tune with your children's needs is that some kids, the environment of school isn't right by them, but I think as a society and talking in the systems viewpoint in
Mm.
how we raise kids is that if they don't fit into that environment, we need to change the child. And then that's when medication comes involved, and we need to change
Mm.
the child as opposed to removing changing the environment. So
Yeah.
yeah, I heard that analogy and I thought, fuck, that's powerful. Like we are changing
Yes.
all of these little kids' brains and numbing them out when they're actually,
Mm.
and I'll bring ADHD into this because this is such a huge
Mm.
topic, and especially with, two little boys with high energy like your boys are, and they want to be playing. The rates of boys in school medicated by the age of, I don't know, let's say quite young, is skyrocketing. And unfortunately, we don't look. There's so many different ways we could blame, and I'm not. This is not where this is going, but more so that if we do, and school system is changing, not the education of the format. However, there is different schools opening up, and
Yes.
there is a lot. So I want to acknowledge that. But where was I going with this? The ADHD, something that I also was reading the other day is about people with ADHD. They've got superpowers.
Yeah.
It's so true. I like,
Yes.
I've definitely wondered whether or not I have something
Mm.
wrong with me. Not that I think ADHD is wrong, but I've definitely wondered because of all my algorithm that gets filled with ADHD tendencies, and I've self-diagnosed by ticking all
Yes.
the boxes, and that annoys me so much, all the self-diagnosis. But there's other ways that these kids and can be in life, and I honestly
Mm.
believe it is a superpower, and everyone that I know that has ADHD, or they are they are the biggest
Yes.
entrepreneurs now.
Yeah, because they're not systematically thinking all the time. Like they've got like all the different boxes open at one time. Yeah, I absolutely believe that. And I think that, like you say, with the self-diagnosis stuff, like I question that about things about myself. And I was actually talking to my therapist about this the other day because I was like, what is like your perception of, ADHD and autism and even depression and anxiety? Like that's been a big part of my journey, and being medicated and then being what I like to call sober for the first time in my life, like not being on the pill, not being on any antidepressants, not being on anything, and just kind of like now having this bird's eye view of all of that, and like the questions that I wish were asked during those appointments before I was medicated and things like that. And I think you're so right. I think that so many of the ingenious people that I know now would absolutely be classified as diagnosed. And I guess yeah, it's such a hard topic. I think that again with the grey in the middle, right? Because there's people that I believe can find so much power in that and not need a diagnosis and not want a medication. And then there's the other end where, I've also been someone who has been in a season of life where there was no space or capacity for the curiosity to not be medicated. It was just like that was the survival, like it's like you say, that pendulum swing. And speaking to my therapist about it, it was very cool to, I don't know, I guess just that there's no right or wrong. Like you can either be diagnosed and be medicated and that be perfectly okay and hold it in that way, and you can also hold it in the way of like it being a beautifully creative and magnificent strength that you can have, and I was very similar in school to what you're saying. Like I was just constantly questioning and constantly in trouble because I was questioning. And now, like, I look at the world the way that it is and, like, who my people are and who I love. And I'm like, yeah, like, you didn't do well in school, did you? Because, like, you were questioning. And that's not what school is for. School is to create the row of ants, the sheep, that all go this way. And it's like, are these things that, like, if you don't follow the line, are you then diagnosed with something that then makes you seem like there's something wrong so that you then get back in the line, like, are these things, this is so extreme, but like, are these things really problems, or are they just ways of describing people who like don't want to be in the box? Like, and so it's like you either fake it and you stay here, or like you have a personality and then there's something wrong with you and you need a pill so that your personality goes back inside itself. And there's so many exterior things as well, isn't there? Because, the perception of ADHD, of people not being able to focus and it's like, look at the world that we live in, look at the screens and look at the accessibility and look at the overstimulation and look at the buildings and the lights and the just like the toxins in the environment. Like, there's so many things that now impact our systems. It's like, no wonder we can't focus. Like, there's oh yeah, you could just talk about this topic all day, couldn't you? But it's just feel like it's very broad, and again, a topic that like they would love to have it be black or white, but I think there's a lot of grey in those topics as well, for sure.
Yeah, I could definitely ask you so many more questions and go along with this, but we're just hitting over an hour, and I'm just wanting to really also hear your journey with your husband. As you know,
Yeah.
yesterday I interviewed Tully, who will be getting published the week prior to this episode. So
Yeah.
and you've worked with Tully. So could you please share with our listeners your journey with your husband, breaking down your relationship, and then how Tully's Liberating Love program module course assisted you guys back, and where are you now?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So my husband and I have been together for, I think it's like 13 or 14 years now. We always had like a pretty rock solid relationship prior to kids. And then, parenthood is a gig. It's a slog. And then having our boys so close together, like finding out I was pregnant with P when Ziggy was 6 months old was just like such a beautiful surprise. Like, I'm so grateful for it. But the shock factor, of just like navigating early motherhood and then having another one coming and being like, okay, how, what? It was a lot for both of us. And I am someone who has always struggled with mental health. And not long after our first son was born, my husband was diagnosed with ADHD. And so we were kind of both in our own little worlds of, all of the things, mental health, becoming parents, career. And because it all happened so quickly, there was so little time to process what was happening as it was happening. And I think, and a lot of people I speak to now, it's so funny, I never would have even had these conversations prior to us going through this, and just thought that everyone was like living these perfectly happy lives. And then I guess when we were going through it, I just decided to talk about it, and then realized how many people were in the same situation, and was just like blown away by that, because I felt like in my world, no one was talking about it. But I guess like the things you don't process and you don't talk about catch up eventually. And that's kind of what happened for us. We got to a point where our youngest was maybe 4. And I feel like you kind of just like really coming out of the trenches when they get to that age, like they're 4 and they're like talking more and eating and, less diapers and all that sort of thing. And it's kind of like you're kind of like starting to breathe again. And so it's like then there's room. Then there's room to actually start processing. I feel like when Brad came home for those years, there was so much room for us to chat, and we just were speaking different languages, like entirely. And so we sort of started going to therapy. It was honestly like one of us was Japanese and one of us was English, and there was no like comprehension between the two of us. And basically we got to breaking point. We'd been working on our marriage for like maybe I want to say 2 years. We'd both been in therapy and then started doing couples therapy together. And I think because we were home together, that actually wasn't helping at that point. And our therapist actually said, have you considered like living in separate homes for a period of time? Because it was just like too much time to like be communicating when we didn't know how to communicate ultimately. So we had decided to split up, and it was a really bad kind of split. Like, sort of once he decided to move out, it was like we even decided for 4 weeks after he moved out we wouldn't speak to each other. Like we created a schedule of picking up the kids, and it was like you drop them at the gate and you pick them up from the gate, like don't even come to the door. Like it was really in a bad place. And when we decided to do Tull's course, it was simply so that we could communicate civilly. It wasn't even to get back together. It wasn't to save our marriage. It was like we were just in such a broken place that it was like, whether we like it or not, these kids have tied us together for life, and we need to be able to be civil, and we don't want them to see us, you know, being narky at Christmases or like we don't want any of that. So like we just want to be able to like communicate and be civil humans, and that's it. And that was kind of the purpose of joining the course. Tal was amazing. We were like struggling financially at that point, and we like messaged and we were like, how, like, is there any way we can make this work? Can we start a payment later? Can we extend the payment plan? You know, and he was incredible and just made it work for us. That was kind of how we got into the course. We had no expectation that it was going to heal anything. It was very much just about learning how to have a conversation without it getting to a horrible place. And the course went for 4 months, 3-4 months at that time. And by the end of the course, we were moving back in together, which was super unexpected. But basically, he turned the English and the Japanese into both of us speaking English, and it just absolutely incredible the way that he's formatted these modules, because like you say, we all learn differently. So I'm a visual and a soundboarding learner, and so him having the group Zooms, which felt quite intimidating at first, but him having the group Zooms and us being able to have conversations, ask questions and hear other people's questions and other people's, it's like being able to see your marital issues in somebody else where you're not angry at those people and how they fix that. That learning in that way was so powerful for us. But also for Brad, seeing the modules and having workbooks, like he learned really well via doing that, because talk therapy was great for me, but I feel like for him was more difficult. But having the booklets was not really my jam, but for him that was like really powerful. And so I feel like the way that Tull structured that course is like, no matter how you learn, he's got you covered. And so it basically just enabled us to see that the areas in which we were having this conflict, so much of it was from our past, our childhood, our upbringings, and like not even each other. And so there was so much like forgiveness in that, which was so powerful. But then there was also just the ways in which like this form of communication in a moment of conflict is not working, and then like how do we change that? And then I don't know, it just was so quick. The resentment disappeared and the forgiveness flooded in from learning these things about each other. All of a sudden, not just that, but then also having this mutual vision again. Like he has this really incredible tool that he gives to you of getting on the same page about kind of where you're going in life, the way in which your values align. And that was absolutely life-changing. And so to do that activity, you kind of do it separate and then you bring it back together to see where your gaps are as a couple. But that gave us such clear vision on just like where there could have been so much resentment building, because he was at home but he really loves working, and so he wanted to be working, but he didn't even realize that until we were doing these activities, realizing that like we were doing the white picket fence school thing, and that actually was not like in alignment for either of us, and how that then was impacting our marriage because we weren't in alignment, we weren't happy, but we thought we were living the dream. So why would we not be happy? So we had to like blame each other for that unhappiness almost. And yeah, so it gave so much clarity in so many different areas. And then basically we decided to get back together. We sold our home. We had a home in Freo and we sold our home, and we had been talking about our travels back in 2020, even throughout like deciding to split up. It was still something we kept discussing. So we sold our home, decided to get back on the road, and that was, you know, such a beautiful journey, like coming back together and all of those things. And him actually going to work FIFO was a big part of this. So, a lot of people obviously always assume that FIFO is like a financial thing, and for most people it is. And for us, it was actually more about not going from not being together to being together all the time again. It was like him having, because there was a role he really wanted, him having a job where we still had a bit of distance between us while we were like reforming like our second marriage ultimately. It gave us this safety net of like, you're still getting your space and I'm still getting mine, and we're not like just forcing this thing back together. Yeah, so it kind of plonked us back on the road, sold our home, and then being on the road, we kind of, it's like you have a vision and then you reach the vision and then you kind of feel a bit lost again. So we kind of got into that like, oh, what are we doing scatteredness again? And then went back to the wheel that Tully has. And we revisit his course, and anytime we can get back in and do it again, we absolutely will, because there's life learnings in there. There's no way that you could absorb everything he has in that space in the time. Like it's immense what he's gathered in there. And yeah, traveling, decided to buy another home, which was very unexpected. Bought it in a state we'd never been to before. The price was right. It was the dream home. It ticked the boxes. And we just thought, if we don't like it there, what's the worst thing that could happen is that we turn it into an Airbnb and it's a business, or we sell it. Like that was the worst case scenario. Like the price was just like too good to pass up kind of thing. So yeah, so we bought the home. It was meant to be rented till the end of the year. And then last minute, 9 days before settlement, they said the tenants are moving out. And so we kind of had this panic moment of like, okay, what do we do now? I guess the reason I share this story is because it's like it's really proved to us in this season right now of like our adaptability and how our communications changed in like a really crazy season. So that was 9 days out, and we were actually doing a financial course at the time with these absolute legends that specialize in like short-term accommodation. And we had a one-on-one with them, and they were like, why don't you just like get over there and Airbnb it? And we were kind of like, like two kids, like just pop on over. Like we don't have any savings. How do we furnish it? Like it was kind of like, oh, just impossible, you know? And then this is the thing about speaking to incredible people who like don't believe in impossible, is like then they make you believe that everything is possible. And yeah, so we had this really last minute decision to like pop over there, turn it into an Airbnb for the rest of the year at least, and then see how it goes. It was kind of like, can we find a no interest card to furnish this house? And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't matter because we need furniture anyway. And yeah, so there's been a lot of adaptability proof of what he taught us in the last like couple of months for us, which has been really powerful. I couldn't recommend him enough. And that course and that container and just what it actually teaches you, and not just in marriage, like it's taught me a lot about my friendships and stuff as well, but just about communication, how our childhood things play out in real time in our everyday, in our parenting, in everything. It honestly, like, this is the kind of stuff that should be taught in school, like our taxes and business and ABNs and marital stuff and relationships and emotional and like this is what really should be taught in school. And I think the world would be a very different place if it was. So,
How would
um,
they make money? There would be no taxpayers because everyone would be outside
oh,
the system.
can you imagine like that they wouldn't be able to just print more? It would just be so dramatic. Oh, but yeah, so absolutely recommend him. It's been amazing. And yeah, we're in a really good, like it's been a stressful season, but we're in his current container of has he changed the name? Relationship Mastery, Liberating Love. I think it's kind of in a little crossover. But yeah, like we're back in it again and love it and learn something new every single time we're in it. Yeah, just so grateful. Like I kick myself because my therapist told me about him like years before our split and said like I feel like it would be really great, and Brad ended up doing a men's retreat with him during that, and I think that was a huge pivot moment for us as well, so loved it.
Is Emma your therapist?
Yeah.
She was mine before mat leave. Now I'm
Yeah.
working with one of her, well, working with now I'm seeing Suzanne under M.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
she also told me when she was going on We were about to, I was seeing her and then we were about to bring Iz in as well. And then went on mat leave and she was like, you should try Tully. And she was like, I feel like Tully is going to be more what you guys need because obviously it's about like, I was just like, I have never seen a good relationship. I've never seen good communication.
Yes.
I've never seen, and we're about to have our second child, and that's my ultimate goal in life that my kids see a loving relationship. They see good communication and we don't, So I was telling Emma that, and Emma was like, it sounds like you guys just really should see Tully. And then when I looked on his account, like it was just really, him and his wife, Kat, are just so like minded to us. And
Yes.
yeah, so yeah, he's really amazing. And the conversation that I had with him yesterday, which will be published the week before this one, is incredible. So if anyone's not listening in order and you're listening to this one first, go back to last week and listen to my conversation with Tully
Yes.
because yeah, every episode I'm on a fucking high after. Like I'm just on an absolute high. Sometimes I ask myself, I'm like, should I be doing this? I should be so in with kids, but really trying to honor like what I actually want and my cup gets filled with
Mm.
speaking to people like you and sharing it and
Yeah.
education. I love education. I hate the fucking education system and I hate learning inside of it. But I love it. And this is, yeah, I just learn so much and constantly challenge my own beliefs and opinions and
Mm.
constantly get my fucking ego like shattered with a sword and
Yeah, but how good does it feel? It's like
it's
brutal,
good.
and I'm exactly the same.
Mhm.
I'm a bit of an education slut, so I hear you.
So Airbnb, was something I registered for. I registered our home onto Airbnb after talking to you because I was like, fuck yeah, like our
Yes.
goal is definitely to get back on the road in the next few years. This isn't the season now, but it definitely will. Like the thought of staying in one place forever just absolutely makes me feel gross. So I
Yeah.
registered our house into Airbnb because again, the business mindset. So tell me, how is the process and how's it all looking?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it was pretty like simple. I thought there'd be more complexity. I think like in all transparency, it maybe could have been, but I think the home that we bought had previously been an Airbnb from some of the other owners. So the approval process, I don't know if it was sped up or anything because they'd already said yes to the other people. So there could be more complexities than I am aware of because it was quite easy, but I don't want to like say that and then it's actually not that easy. But yeah, it was super simple through in terms of the council and stuff like that. Setting it up felt just like so exciting because I feel like we're in a bit of a unique position here where like this is going to be our home eventually. So like furnishing it and everything was just like it was creating our home and it felt really good because we weren't really being too like stint or cheap or anything on things because we wanted the best for like our kids and all that kind of thing. So that felt really good that we knew we were kind of going like really like getting the best experience for people as well, which felt really cool. We were so lucky that we were working alongside our friends Dom and Bren at the time that do specialize in short-term accommodation. That felt so like nourishing because it wasn't like deer in the headlights, like, oh my God, what do we do? Because we were having Zooms with them every week. And so every time we would have a bit of a panic moment, then we would have a call and kind of word vomit and they'd be like, oh, just this and this. And that was really nurturing to like kind of have that literally around the same time that it was all happening. But in terms of like setting it up and everything, it was like busy because we had to do it so fast, but it was really fun. Setting it up on like the Airbnb and booking.com websites was really easy and I'm not tech savvy at all. And it was really easy, like just doing, the write-ups, filling everything out. In terms of what you need, you just need the code from the council, which you get through all that approval. I assume that would normally take 6 to 8 sort of weeks if you'd never Airbnb the property before. For us, because it had been before, it took them 2 days, which was amazing to just give us that code. And then it was really just about trying to like build it up social media wise. For me, like I really wanted it to have, I'd watched our friends build up their tiny home social media presence prior to launching. And it was just, I just loved watching it come to life. And so I was like, I really want to do that. I want to create it so people are watching it come to life before they can even book. And that felt really fun for me to like make it this entity and create this story behind it too. There was a lot of like importance around it having it an entity and a story, and it not just being like a house, you know, like it kind of felt really fun to play with that side of it. And I don't know that this is my issue as like someone who loves business. My issue is always I'm never really like very strategic or like results based. Like I'm always just in the feeling of like what I'm doing, and then I'm like, oh, what should my expectation be of like the result to come kind of thing. And so like I'm super stoked with the result. I don't even know if it's good, but I'm happy with like we launched it and have had 10 bookings come in, and so I don't know if that's bad or good, but like I'm super happy with it. We just had our very first customer come like 2 days after we left. It was actually really scary because it was a gay couple that own a florist locally. So, like, who has more style and edge and taste than like a gay couple that owns a florist? Like, I was like so excited that it was them and intimidated at the same time. And they had friends flying in from South Australia to stay as well. So it was like full time intimidation moment of just like, I can't wait to have these people because if they enjoy it, that's like the ultimate compliment. And if they don't, it could be the end of us from day one. And so, yeah, we had them come through and they haven't put an official review up yet, but he sent me a really lovely message after. And that feeling was like, I haven't felt a feeling like that in a really long time. So that was really special. But it's been so fun. And the bigger picture here for us with this block of land that we've got in Tassie is like, we would love this is, you know how you're like, oh, I should be with my kids and like be present and not like this is me too, because I'm like, we just got back to WA like literally days ago, and I'm like message my husband and I'm like, we need to speak to the council because like the bigger picture of this plan, which I thought we would have like at least 3 months rest before we started doing this, but like apparently 3 days is enough, is that I would love to like build a tiny home or like a second dwelling at the back. So then when we move into the home, we can still do this Airbnb situation, and then just see what it turns into. But so far it has been so fun. We were so lucky. Like I just put on a Facebook community page that I was looking for a cleaner and was like blessed by God himself, I think. Like this woman commented and she's like a mum who lives 15 minutes away who just likes to take her baby to work so she can't work for a big company. And she's like, I met up with her and we just clicked straight away. We were chatting for like 5 hours at a cafe, and she's coming in and she's like doing the cleaning, but she's also like just so excited to be a part of it. She's like, do you want me to like grocery shop for you? Like what happens with this? Do you want me to like do some gardening? Like my husband's a horticulturist and he can come and we can like put some like flower, like it's like she's treating it like her own. Like I feel like we've been so lucky to find this beautiful woman who wants to like almost co-create it with us. It's been so fun, and I like kind of fiending for the next one at the moment because it's been a really enjoyable experience, and I can really see the passive income that can come from it, and the community and the creativity, and just yeah, like I can really see how this is a really incredible way to generate income. And you know, like I mean, renting it we would have got around 350 a week probably. Like Airbnb it, if we Airbnb'd it for the whole week we would get 1,500, you know. So of course it's going to take time to build a name for ourselves and get those reviews building and all of those types of things, but it's like the income difference is just immense. So yeah.
Wow, that's such amazing story and something that yeah, we're very like-minded in that way.
Yeah.
But something that you said that really landed to me is adaptability. Like when sometimes we have so much pressure on knowing the full end goal, the full picture and the plan. However, like if you know me and you ask what my plan is, I always say I just don't know. Like I don't know because
Yes.
I've learned in my life that I don't stick to plans. And I think it's good not to. And it's good to just jump into stuff that feels right and that feels really
Yeah.
scary because the people come. This
Yeah.
is why I believe in manifestation and the law of attraction so much is that when you put
Yes.
it out there and you're willing to step through the door, it will all fall into place. And whatever
Mhm.
problems arise, they won't ever be the problems that you thought may come. And everything's adaptable, everything. Like then you critical think, you figure it out. And one of the most
Mhm.
amazing things is right now is we live in a world where Instagram marketing's free, Facebook marketing's
Yes.
free. It's never been an easier time to start a business or change
Mhm.
your the house that you brought that was going to be your forever home to Airbnb it or we are so blessed to have so many amazing opportunities on our doorstep that fear gets in the way. And
Mhm.
just hearing this story shows that, you became so adaptable to the different changes that arised and like how incredible that is. So we're going to have to wrap it up now, Christine. Sage is in and she's just
Yeah.
going to try to fall asleep on me. So where can everybody find you?
Yeah, I mean, so I'm on Instagram at raise.our.tribe. That's kind of my main page. And then our Airbnb has its own Instagram that's linked to that as well. But yeah, I kind of share my page is a little bit of like a bit of a mixed Allen's bag. It's kind of just all of me. I don't really have a lot of different pages for different things. It's just all of me and all of the things, and you never know what you're going to get that day kind of thing.
I can definitely resonate. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show, and I can't wait to chat to you soon.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, babe. Thanks for having me.